Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? It just ain't the same, always a change. These days are strange, the globe is same. If love and peace is strong, why the pieces of love that don't belong? Nations rock and bomb, chemical gases filling lungs of little ones with ongoing suffering. As the youth ask yourself, is the living really gone? So I can ask myself,
Doing Kira?
wrong in this world that we live in?
Oh, y'all on the same team?
Making those decisions on visions of infinity, respecting each other.
To make it, and why is it important to you?
Oh, it's on me?
I'm giving everybody a minute to think about it.
Oh, okay. Let me go outside for a minute.
I'll
Hey,
go.
put that in your bag.
I'll say for me, I mean, I have so many dishes, but I'll give my top 3.
Okay.
So my first one is chicken Alfredo. And I say that one because, well, it's important to me because, first of all, I'm a master at it. And I feel like pasta is just one of my favorite foods. And it's really easy, simple to cook, easy to share. So, I don't know. As a Southern belle, I think food is for bonding activities. It's kind of bonding and familiar conversation. So I feel like any dish that I'm good at is great. And it's a lot. The second one would be stuffed cabbage, and that's my favorite just because of all the different flavors that go into it. It's not something I think a lot of people don't really hear about too much, even though it's a true Southern meal. So I love that one. It's not super complicated, but it makes you look like you've been in culinary school for a long time.
Right.
And then the third one I would say is the traditional Sunday meal. So the fried chicken, the collard greens, the cornbread, the rice and gravy. So, and that's important just for the presentation of my heritage.
All right. That's good. All that good Southern comfort food. Who's next? Paula or Ebony?
I'm sorry. What was the question? I had to leave. I had to go take care of something right quick.
So I asked what your master chef style signature dish was. How did you learn to make it, and why was it important to you?
Let me think on that. Ebony, you
Okay.
go ahead.
So I would say, hold on, let me go outside. It's like that now. I would say one of my master dishes will be my chicken potato bake.
Hmm.
How I learned how to make it was I was hungry one day and I didn't feel like going to the grocery store. So I had some chicken, some potatoes, some onions, green peppers, ranch, and cheese in the house. So I just said, let me put something together and see how it come out. And it ended up coming out really good. And now people ask me to make it. So sometimes I add shrimp and other things to it. But yeah, so that's how I came up with it. So it's very important because it's something that if you have a cup of potatoes, a piece of chicken, or even if you don't have no chicken, you can feed quite a few people with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. So next time you come to visit, you got to cook that.
Ooh, Lord, that's this weekend. I got you on the next visit.
I was still thinking, so I'll go. So I have a couple also. So first, my cornbread from scratch.
Oh,
Then my holiday cornbread dressing. So I have two that I actually make that are really don't even need gravy. Huh?
That's cheating because technically cornbread could turn that into dressing. You add stuff to it, so you trying to cheat and make it go two. I mean, they are separate, but not really.
They are.
They are, but okay. I feel like you
All right.
just cheated.
I didn't, but I got more because I've mastered gumbo and I've mastered homemade jambalaya.
Oh, you
So
got to
that's the
teach me the
Louisiana coming out.
you got to teach me the jambalaya one. Yeah.
Okay, I sure can. Okay, and for dessert, because no one said a dessert, so
Mm.
my master chef dessert is banana pudding, the best in the South.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. You
Oh
just
well,
started
if we're
something.
talking dessert,
I know, right?
okay.
Me too.
Strawberry cheesecake.
And put it too. Just started a war together. Cook off.
Hey, cook-off. Yeah.
Okay. Say my uh daddy Alfredo without me copying the recipe. Follow the garden. That's what I like, and I was able to master it. So it was so family. Everybody loved it, and they all did. So every time we have something, my nephew's always, "Can you please make something, please?" I'm like, "It's not no spaghetti. It's Alfredo sauce, you know." So that's definitely been one of the staples in my family. Along with my dessert would be my raspberry cheesecake. I
Oh,
make my homemade crust and raspberry sauce and sweet potato pie.
Ooh.
okay.
Paula, you had me till you said raspberry.
Oh, it's really good. It is really good.
Ooh, you said
Cheesecake.
raspberry.
I love raspberries.
So
It's a
y'all never had cake?
I don't like
I've had it.
raspberries,
I had a vegan
so
version of
no.
it. That was good.
okay. Okay.
So what's vegan dessert?
So we gotta talk about that
Nothing.
another time. But it's so like I first heard of it, I was like, impossible. How do you? That was just they're not compatible. But the first time I tried cheesecake, actually, because I never liked the smell, I didn't like the texture of it. So the first time I tried it, it was actually vegan, and I didn't want to try it, but it looked so good, and I was like, okay, what the heck? And I did. Oh my gosh, y'all! I know it sounds crazy right now, and it sounded crazy to me too, but it's delicious. It's the only type of cheesecake I would eat, and it comes from Post Cafe in Massachusetts. That's a specific place I'll eat it at. Unless somebody want to come up with a challenge to make one, and I'll try it. But yeah, it's so. Look, I'm telling you, I see your face, but it's
That's
good.
interesting. Yeah.
It's so good. I don't know how they do it, but they eat it because oh my god, from scratch. It's so
All
good.
right. That's interesting.
I have to try it. A
So
vegan.
thank y'all for participating in how food always brings together. So I know that would be a conversation starter. So it worked.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to introduce our organization, First Ladies of Poverty Foundation. We are an award-winning professional leadership development program that offers an academy, membership support, and mentorship to people of color and our allies who are seeking to overcome systemic barriers of oppression and seeking a higher quality of life. What does all of that mean, right? So we provide a safe space for people of color and our allies to come together, network, collaborate, have discussions on how to better your lives professionally, financially, and also in leadership. We have, like I said, a community of mentors from different backgrounds. So you have an array of resources available to you through our organization. Um, anything that you need, we have access to. and can provide you access to it. So about me, Ebony and Paula already know me, so you guys know that I am a financial professional. I've been an accountant for over 20 years. I have my own business, Serenity Financials LLC. I became a member of this organization because my personal morals and goals align with the mission of the organization. And I'm passionate about helping other people better themselves, finding what I do like a very in my life. Finance is not right. So it's important for me to make people literate. I want people to what credit wise them for maintain it, use it properly. I want people to understand taxes to the extent that they know how they can benefit them. When people hear the word taxes, like it scares some people. People run away from it, but it's not a bad thing. It's actually to your benefit when you understand it. I want to help small business owners. Small business owners make up the bulk of our economy. I want to encourage people of color to look at ownership in a different light. That's also to your benefit, rather than working for someone else's goals and actions, and you know, still to sustain like this. So that was a lot. A quick breath, it felt like. Do y'all have any questions before I move?
I think you said it in a succinct way for us.
Okay. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about, I want to give you a taste of what we provide. So I want to talk to you a little bit about financial resources to help you get through the COVID-19 pandemic. So we know COVID-19 impacts every household, it's impacting businesses. It has been for 4 months now, and probably will continue for we don't know how long. I read a report, 1 out of every Americans said that they lost income in the pandemic. There was a survey done in April where 9 out of 10 Americans said the pandemic was causing them financial stress, and half of those people were worried about being able to pay their bills. So naturally, when your income drops, it's a natural feeling of panic, right? So what do? A lot of times, you automatically look to government for whatever assistance, like, you know, we do something to help us in a time like this. But what do we do to help ourselves outside of that, right? So me being a financial expert, my first thing would be to look at your household budget. Some of us don't make it a practice to budget. Some of us don't know how to budget. I know for one, in the household I grew up in, I was never taught to budget. I don't know if y'all can resonate with that. But once you look at your household budget, it opens up your options. It helps you be able to work through and think through like what your next move is going to be. So when you look at a budget, you're looking at how much money you're bringing in or how much you're expecting to come in if you're one that just lost a job during this time, right? And then what your monthly bills are for the month, like how much money is going out. And do I have enough to sustain? Will I have over like what is that, right? So if you have budget on a regular,
I know how to. No.
for me, when I had to teach myself how to budget, I dumped everything in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yep. That's Excel. Everything. I had got so good at write down everything. Every receipt, if I spent $1.50 somewhere, and it's really amazing how you see the little things that you buy add up fast. Yeah,
Right.
Excel that I use.
I have a notebook. Sometimes I do it in a Excel sheet, put it in a notebook. I haven't got to the point where I'm really, really good where I do it to the T, every penny, every dollar, but I'm a whole lot better than what I used to be. And I had to learn myself. I had to teach myself how to do it. I still fall back into bad habits now. For the past few weeks I have. But now that I'm aware of it, I can correct it. So that's where I'm headed to.
What about you, Shatoya?
So for me, I'm usually pretty good. I didn't grow up with budgeting, no. But for me, I know the importance of it when running an organization and leading by example. So I have been, you know, managing my Excel sheets, managing my funds. I haven't crossed every T and dotted every I, like the pennies and all that stuff. But for the most part, yes, I have a spreadsheet. I keep up with it. I keep my revenue for the business and, of course, tax deductions. So making sure I keep all my receipts and stuff like that. So, and actually today, I went through a lot of papers and I organized in, actually, hold on, here's this thing yep, right here. And it already had marketing
Accordion.
tabs on it. Yeah, the accordion.
Mm.
So this was like this at first. Now it's like this. So I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to screen share real quick because I wanted to, if there was anyone on here who did not know how to budget, just show you what a budgeting worksheet looks like. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this, they call it a monthly spending plan, which is basically what a budget is, right? You don't want to go over whatever budget you set. And first step is figuring out how much money you have each month and the living expenses. Have enough to cover those expenses. So you see on the left side, basic living expenses, where you basically just calculate everything that you pay out every month. Your rent or mortgage, all of your utilities, car, even, budget for eating out, groceries, household essentials, doctor co-pays, entertainment, if you have pets, gifts and donations. So that's one thing I never budgeted for. Health and life insurance. And then over here is all of your debts. So anything that you pay interest on, your car loans, it has medical bills, past due utilities, so late fees, right? Credit cards. Yeah. Expenses together and all of your income. So if you work a W-2 job, if you have a business on the side, even if you're doing MLMs or Uber or DoorDash, or if you're doing other things online like getting paid for surveys or whatever, you just add up all of your income. If you're receiving child support payments, that's income for your household. And then you just do the calculations. So you subtract the expenses from all of your income. And then your difference is either going to be in the plus or minus. So if it's in the minus, what does that mean? means you don't have enough, right? Am I still sharing or did it stop?
It stopped.
Okay, good. Um, so if you are in a modest light, what do you do in that instance? Look for a second job, look for additional ways to bring in income, ask friends and family for a loan. Like um, our organization may have suggestions for additional ways for you to make additional money. So this would be a resource for you to come to if you got stuck into that position. Have you guys ever been in that position? I know I have.
I'm sorry, I missed you.
What'd you say?
I'm sorry, I missed it. I'm multitasking over here.
Oh, I was asking, have you, like, what do you do if you end up in the negative? If you've ever been in that position, like, what are some of your alternatives to finding additional income?
It's been a minute since I've been in the negative, thank God.
Right?
Um,
Amen.
but that's when I promote my business more, and then I end up getting the sale. So I know that I need to get better at promoting my business. Just on the regular, being more consistent with it every day. But yeah, I haven't had that problem in a long time, thank God.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were someone who did not already know about budgeting, was that worksheet valuable to you?
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So it's funny that this is a Georgia chapter that we are introducing, and none of us on here are actually from Georgia, but we reside in Georgia.
That is interesting.
It is.
I'm in Massachusetts, but for y'all, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are with introducing the new chapter into the community? What are some resources you think would be valuable for this area?
I would say, like you're saying, budgeting tools. Definitely teaching folks about credit. That's definitely key. Um, maybe home ownership, or things like that.
Okay.
I agree with Paula. Also, I think entrepreneurship. Teaching that, especially starting with the youth, but also with the adults. But something that is friendly for the youth and something that the adults could operate too. So maybe it could be something that they can work on together. Because I think that's really important. I know growing up for me, entrepreneurship was a push. It was go to school, maybe go to college if you choose to, but the end result was get a job and work. It wasn't no saving. It wasn't no work. Get a business, and I actually, my grandma taught me how to sew at an early age, and I took it in middle school, home, interior design in middle school, the ninth grade, and I wish I would have. I only did it for what was required, which was like a year or a half a year. I only did that. I wish I would have did it longer because I could have got my certificate in it. And I could have, me personally, I know I could have been further if that was introduced to me, but really, it wasn't until my adult years that I really heard or really learned anything about being an entrepreneur as well. And by that time, it still took me years to be able to do it because I was taught to get a job, and as anyone who's an entrepreneur, that's not, being an entrepreneur is not necessary. Oh, I know I got 50 $1,000 coming in this week. It's never, you have that coming in. And with the job, it's like, if you go to work those days, you got that amount of money coming in. So I think entrepreneurship will be a very big thing for our community.
Good point. So, do you guys have any questions about First Ladies of Poverty?
Not necessarily the, well, I don't know when it's
I do not. Lydia founded First Lady Poverty Foundation. Founder on the line with us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, Shatoya, what
Yes, ma'am.
really motivated you to start?
I'll send you a link to the full story. But in brief, exactly what everybody said, like what our community needs. And for me, going on that journey, because in the South, just be very narrow-minded and close-minded about what you can do, and a lot of it is historical based. But it's been passed on for generations, and a lot of it is self-imposed too. So for me, going through my journey or trying to build wealth and trying to make a better life for myself.
Starting our own organization.
What happened?
It's,
Wait, what just happened?
no, thanks. Rambling. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. So going on my journey to success and building wealth, like I did the traditional route. I went to college. I thought education was my way out, and it was to an extent, but it wasn't to get me to where I wanted to be. A lot of times it is to get in a job, but then as a person of color, as a woman of color, it's hard, as a woman of African descent to be specifically, it's hard to keep the positions because of certain microaggressions or because of certain things, and you don't agree with a lot of the ethics. And at a certain point, your mental health is sacrificed because you're trying to keep a job and provide for yourself, maybe even your family. But you have to deal with this on a daily basis on top of the other social BS you have to deal with as people of color, specifically women of African descent. And so for me, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of working for other people. I can't do this. So I'm going to focus solely on my businesses. And I was also running businesses in middle school, high school, but you'll get that story later. Now I focus on it full time. I left college my senior year and pursued my entrepreneurial endeavors. And I've been doing that ever since because I saw college getting me into a corporate job perhaps because I went to a prestige college. But what was I going to lose in that process? My life was not have been the life I would have dreamed of. Yes, I would have probably had a job where I'm bringing in income, but trading my time 50, 60, 70 hours, I might as well be working for myself and still have the freedom to go where I want to go, to take vacations, to sleep in when I want to sleep in. Why do I got to be in office at a certain time if I could do my job at home? So just taking back control over my life is what pushed me to help the people who look like me to do the same while overcoming these systemic barriers. There's so many. And I think a lot of success programs don't take that into account when they're creating a success blueprint that's supposed to fit everyone's circumstance. It usually don't work for us because it don't take into account those unique obstacles. A lot of times the people who founded those programs, they believe they don't exist. Like it's a figment of our imagination or we're just playing victims to something that happened 400, 500 years ago. And so we take those obstacles into account, historical, cultural, social, and we put that into the blueprint to help us get to the success, the quality of life that we go into depth thinking we're gonna get, but it doesn't happen that way. So I agree. That's why I started it.
I love it.
And to also provide us jobs too. Like for instance, she has her financial business, and partnering with her, now I can give her opportunities to earn extra income too. So it's also creating jobs for us by us.
So, I love this organization. So, part of us overcoming systemic barriers and attaining high quality of life, I think it's real important for us first to understand who we are, where we came from, and why we deserve that higher quality of life.
Yes.
Because
Say it
growing
again
up
for the people in the
being,
back.
yeah, growing up in this society, it makes us feel like we're not worthy of it.
Yeah.
So my introduction into the Georgia community, I feel like, I don't know if this is, but I feel like I'm in the blackest part of the South right now. But I feel like with everything that's going on, I want to introduce some beautiful conversations that I think we need to have and address. So next week, we all light and fluffy. Next week, we're going to get into it. So,
Yeah.
next week is going to be a conversation. I'm going to work real hard this weekend and the early part of next week to really get people interested and hopefully engaged in a conversation. And hopefully there's a good turnout next week, because I want to talk about who we are, right? History, or his story, says we're all from Africa. That's where they took us from. So why is there such a divide between Black Americans and Africans?
Yeah. That's a good one.
So my goal is to collect some people who have, some knowledge of a little deeper history than probably what most of us have. And we can be educated and enlightened, and hopefully it can spark, a wider conversation. So I hope y'all will be available next Thursday to tune in for that. I'm excited about it, because some people that I've told that I was doing it, it was like, I don't think that should be one of your first conversations. And I'm like, I'm okay with being a little controversial, but I think it needs to be opened up.
Yeah. I can help you with that. And I also know somebody who I can get on. And it's an African male. So that dynamic is going to be interesting.
Nice.
Okay.
I definitely agree. I definitely think it's a conversation that needs to be had. Because we don't talk about it, but it's apparently it's here. I've been around Africans who stated that they don't really care for us for their reason, and I've been around African Americans who don't particularly care for Africans, or we all have some kind of stereotype that we put the other one in. So I definitely think this is a conversation that needs to be had, because before we can expect the white people or any other race to help us and be for us, and we have to get together, and we have to break that barrier between Africans Americans. So I'm all for it.
Okay. So what are some other topics of discussion that you think would be good for us to have?
Give me a moment, because I had something I forgot.
Okay.
I would also like to talk about the divide between African Americans and African Americans too.
Yes.
And that whole thing, because that's something we love to talk about, the divide that other people set for us, but not the divide that we also set for ourselves. So in the story, my journey, also the self-imposed barriers. So yes, there's systemic racism. Yes, there's so much other stuff that's stopping us, and there's an extra layer of self-imposed systemic barriers too. That is systemic, because it is historical, social, cultural driven, but it's self-imposed, and we also got to be aware of that too.
Right.
I agree with that totally, and also I want to talk about the barriers and between African American men and African American women.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
I,
I knew it.
I think that's something we definitely need to talk about, because each sex have an issue with the other sex, and me personally, I'm tired of all black men being put in one category and all black women being put in one category, and I'm tired of us bashing each other.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard for me. I can see
So
it already.
even in that, what about the black hypocrisy with black women, the lighter skinned black women and the darker skinned black women?
Yes. Gosh.
That's a good.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah, we got our problems with us first.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
We've been attacking all the other problems, but until we have unity, it's like we're running to a brick wall. It's not gonna get us nowhere. No matter how much we think we did, like it's all that with the white on black crime. It's always going to be that. Well, what about black on black crime? It's all, so until we get that unity and want to support our own, then we can't really have true change, really.
Can you put black on black crime on there? Because I got some thoughts about that, and I don't truly agree that it's us. It is us, but from a different perspective, that's the problem. If that makes sense. Like, and they use that. They meaning the oppressors use that as justification for why they're killing us. And I got so much to say on that, but
That was but I agree. The black on black crime, it was systematically done. So
yeah,
I definitely agree with that. And unfortunately, throughout the generations, we haven't broke it yet. But
exactly.
yeah,
Which is
So,
systematic. It's due to poverty. That's why it formed. That's why we formed under the poverty umbrella through POC experiences, because those systems are so perpetuated in all those little micro systems. Ugh.
what's the root of that though? So why was it so easy to break our culture down to make us turn against one another rather than standing by one another? Why was that so easy? So Shatoya and I had a conversation a week or
I'm like,
so ago, and I was like, history says, oh, the white people came and took us from Africa and threw us on a boat. But guess what? We was enslaved to ourselves over there, but nobody ever talks about that. So our division within ourselves started before the slave ship.
I agree, and I feel like that was a different type of not because I know we have this negative connotation of slavery. I don't think it has to be bad. I think because of what our culture went through, it was bad. Like, it's a negative slavery. It's like wrong, but is it really? Like, if it's done in a mutually, and I would have called it slavery at that point. But yes, we did have servants, kings and queens. We were kings and queens. We had our servants. We had people who were working the agriculture, who were serving the kings and queens, but they were treated well. They weren't, and there are like Liberia, for instance, where there were enslaved people who weren't treated well. But then that's a whole different division. That's more classism versus like colorism and racism. Like, we were still Africans. You were still considered African. You were still considered, it's more classism at that point, not like American racism, colorism, if that makes sense, which is more dehumanization. You know what I'm saying? And that was used to justify a lot of the behaviors. Whereas I think in Africa, that was completely not the same. And they used that to justify it too. They were like, y'all had enslavement? Okay. But the way y'all did it, though, was not the same. It wasn't the same intention. It's not the same. Like, stop it. Just stop. Just stop.
So let's go a little deeper. So Paula and her boyfriend and I were having a conversation, I think, right, Paula?
Yes, ma'am.
Where we were talking about, I had brought up that I saw the Indians were wanting to be included in a Black Lives Matters movement. And I was like, no, they already received their reparations. They don't. They live tax free. They have their own little bubble that they live in. Nobody can touch them, do anything to them. Everybody backed off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was Black Indians that Christopher Columbus discovered. So did they give them our reparations? Because everybody got a little Indian in them, right?
Right.
How are we defining reparations?
So, how do we define it? Because they're the only ones that received any.
But what does that mean? Like, what did they receive that's defined as reparations? Is it they still have like a constant battle with like territory and reservations. It's not as put on a mainstream pedestal, but they are still fighting to maintain those lands, etc. And I feel like too. Okay, so what's the question? Is it that did we do well, or is it should they be included in a Black Lives Matter?
So, okay, it's two separate things. We haven't received any type of reparation for anything.
Okay.
And I don't feel that they should be included in Black Lives Matter. I understand they have their own movement, but they also turn a deaf ear to Black Americans.
What's the source? Like, where are you getting that from?
Well, just so growing up, I've had Indian classmates whose families didn't want them playing with us Black kids. Yeah, you have to be in school with them, but you could live in the same apartment complex with us, but you'll get in trouble if you outside playing kickball with us.
Mm.
Like they showed their distaste for whatever reason.
But do we know why? As a community, was it a product of systemic racism? Was it because they just thought they were superior, which is part of the
So
European thing?
that I don't know. Um, but I just feel like for some reason we're like the black sheep of the world. Everybody has some negative
Yeah.
connotation toward us.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
To answer your question though, because I like to get more information before I make a statement, so I'm not trying to invalidate anything you're saying, to just put that
Mhm.
out there. I do agree. I don't think they should be included in the movement. I think their issues should definitely be addressed as well, but I don't think they should be included. And I also feel like the term people of color, sometimes I cringe when I use it, because our our unique obstacles as people of African descent are like lumped in with everyone else's. And that's also when I'm speaking, I like to specify like who I'm talking about at what given time. If I'm talking about generally people of color, okay. But when I'm talking about specifically the obstacles of people of African descent, I make sure to distinguish that, because it is unique. It's very different from every other POC community. And so I agree with you. I don't think it should be included in the Black Lives Matter movement. But I would also, not even a but, yes, they should not be included. And on the other side of that coin, the other question you were talking about in terms of reparations, I would like to know what their problem is, because I know what everybody else's problem is with the perception of us as people. But then what is their side of it? I would love to know that. You know, like, are they also influenced by, I mean, I'm pretty sure they are to some extent, but is that the root of their perceptions of us, or why you couldn't play with them?
Right. I want to know too. So that's another discussion we can have. It's good stuff. All right, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We have like 5 minutes left. So, can anyone think of anything else they want to add to the conversation? Any questions that you have for Shatoya and I about the organization, or just any feedback that you want to give me um, on future events? Or, I'm sorry, on this event, and any suggestions of future events? That might have been too much.
I think you did an excellent job. You were very personable. You made us feel, welcome and comfortable to speak. So I think that is going to go well when you have your next event, to make the difficult conversation more relaxed as far as being comfortable to talk about those difficult situations. So I think it's going to be great. And thank you for your time. And thank you, Shatoya, for starting this amazing group. And thank you,
Thank you
Paula,
for
for being on.
supporting.
right there.
Well, I would like to say thanks for inviting me, and I definitely enjoyed, the conversation, and I look forward to the next one. I like the platform.
Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate your support. Um, and I appreciate Shatoya for encouraging this chapter and me to get over my little fears of pubbing and just jumping out of the box. I appreciate that, y'all, for me.
You do really good at it. You show no anxiety at all.
Oh, well, thank you. That means I'm good at hiding.
Yes, I feel like once you get into the conversation, I'm very perceptive, so I can see it on you. I don't even have to look at you. Remember the first phone call we had? I don't even have to see it. So I see it sometimes, but once you get into the conversational mode, it's like it all just fades and you're good to go. So I think if you just get out of your head, like you try to tell everybody else about finances, get out of your head, just have the conversation. Like Ebony said, like your relatability, your personability, it fades everything away and it makes everybody else comfortable too. So you did amazing. I'm so happy to see, even from when I first talked to you, the transition. It's amazing. And how you handled that technical mishap. That was also very important. That was good. You kept it going, kept it moving.
Thank you. All right. Well, I appreciate you all for coming. We can end and guys next week. So when we send the invite out, please share and help us invite so we can have a bigger discussion.
Will do.
All right.
All right.
Good
Thank y'all. Y'all
night.
take care.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye,
Bye bye.
everyone.